Here, I'm really sorry I couldn't be there with you at DragonCon, or, well, WillCon, but I am delighted that through the magic of technology, I can be there virtually, where I don't have to answer any awkward questions. At any rate, Will provided me with one of the shorts that I'm going to go ahead and read for you now, and again, through the magic of technology, it will be transported through time to you there in Atlanta. I haven't actually read this before, so this is going to be the cold read, and we'll see how that goes. A light chat in a dark place. Information requested. The missing conversation between Ethan and Osmanthus Aurelius. Report location, Chapter 21 of Reaper. Context. Lyndon and Ethan are together in the labyrinth, and they have just stumbled on a forged echo of Osmanthus Aurelius. Authorization confirmed. Beginning report. In the depths of the labyrinth, Ethan stood next to Lyndon and watched his own ghost take shape. Even the ancient scripts and devices operating in the labyrinth strained to replicate him, capturing only a fragment of his will, an approximation of his personality and memories. It drew more power than the hunger echoes they'd faced thus far, though Osmanthus Aurelius looked relatively unassuming. He bore the classical good looks of the Aurelius family, of the sort Ethan admired every day in the mirror, though his current body was altered enough that they looked like brothers rather than clones. Osmanthus wore a gentle smile, pale hair cascading down his back as he propped a broom up on his shoulder. Lyndon set his jaw and braced his spirit, leaning forward to face the new opponent. Leave him to me. He looked so young. He was so young to bear the power Ethan had helped him gather. Ethan adopted an expression of surprise, looking to Lyndon. You want me to face Rhaegon Shen on my own? Apologies, Ethan, but I saw you fight earlier. He's weakened, and you could break through to Sage at any time. Go face your family's killer. It was times like these where Ethan regretted having to balance so many lies. He sighed and gestured for Osmanthus to wait. The echo nodded and waited as Ethan had known he would. Now was the time for a little truth. Everyone misunderstands me, Ethan said. Rhaegon Shen isn't the one I'm trying to surpass. He is. Osmanthus waved. Confusion flickered through Lyndon's entire body before showing itself on his face, and the Aurelius bloodline senses made each detail crystal clear. He saw every physical micro-chain as Lyndon brushed aside his confusion and steeled himself once again. Then let's face him together. Ethan had no intention of doing that. This was an irreplaceable opportunity, both for himself and for Lyndon. He couldn't say so, but his ghost would help him out. Yes, of course. If you think he'll allow that. On cue, Osmanthus put a black and white hand on a panel in the labyrinth wall and exerted his authority. A tiny sliver of the influence Osmanthus Aurelius once wielded over this place, but more than enough to create some privacy. Lyndon vanished immediately. My thanks, Ethan said, with a polite dip of the head. Now, he brandished his scissors. Shall we? For a moment, Ethan and his past self faced each other across a gulf that spanned millennia, one bearing fabric scissors of dark metal, and another a broom of pale Madra. Then they both sheathed their weapons and sat side by side on a nearby stair. It went that badly in the heavens, did it? Osmanthus asked. It did, Ethan responded. It really did. Osmanthus equaled his fingers and frowned. That's concerning. I may not have access to a complete record of our memories, but I remember being quite confident in our preparations. The plan worked. The Abaddon organization hadn't seen a talent like us since the first generation. Pride leaked into Osmanthus' smile, as well it might. This echo was taken from an era when Osmanthus Aurelius had spent years studying the first generation of Abaddon, gathering the relics and knowledge they left behind to infer everything possible about the world beyond. Ethan's ghost was still drunk on his own pride. The enemies of the Abaddon must be formidable then if they drove us back here, Osmanthus mused. Or did you retire, as judges are said to do when their job is finished? The problem was not quite so external. Osmanthus' pride melted into a faint sadness. Unrivaled even in the heavens. It defies all probability. I suppose the novelty of it would wear off after the first few centuries. Still, that problem alone would be well within our capacity to solve. You don't seem averse to taking disciples. They both glanced toward the wall, far beyond which Lyndon was traveling towards Subject 1. It was the job, Ethan said. He hadn't left all his memories in this form. Most of them were a burden rather than an asset, but he felt the crushing weight of even the fraction he had left. Osmanthus scanned him with a quick flick of their bloodline power, then sighed. They had us making weapons. Using them, when an iteration could not be saved, it meant the Reaper of Worlds. Rage rippled out of the echo, sending sparks flying from nearby scripts and evoking an ear-piercing squeak from the network of projector bindings. Osmanthus surged with power, his broom appearing almost real. I can only assume you left them in ruins, he said, colorless eyes blazing. If I had, Ethan said, then I would have learned nothing at all. Osmanthus mastered himself, and the binding settled down. He smoothed out his forged clothes and rearranged his hair. Once he had composed himself, he arched an eyebrow. So we learned our lesson. Was that what convinced us to give up? It convinced us to try one last time. They sat together, quietly, as they both watched the battles taking place above and below them. As much as they had shared in their speech, they shared more in their silence, communicating as two versions of the same man. The anger and sadness and pride that Osmanthus carried were still in Ethan. Older, certainly, perhaps deeper, but he had a better understanding of them. And they brought him here to look for something else, something different. Simultaneously, they both exchanged beaming smiles and stood. Perhaps I should be ashamed of you, Osmanthus said, but I find myself hoping for your success. I, unfortunately, cannot reciprocate, Ethan responded, because I am ashamed of you. I see Mandus did not survive into our old age. At least we kept our hair. Osmanthus' attention was pulled by strands of his awareness back to Lyndon. Shall I redirect you? Confronting Subject 1 and a foreign monarch, one after the other, is likely to break. I believe in him. Don't you? Osmanthus chuckled dismissively. I don't even believe in you. Ethan patted his ghost on the shoulder. At least that much we have in common. And so, have a great Wilcon.